A stranger has sent you money. Not a few dollars. Not a small gift. A life-changing amount. And the most shocking part. You almost missed it. Right now, while you are listening to this, thousands of people are ignoring opportunities that could completely transform their future. Not because the opportunity wasn't there, but because it arrived in a form they didn't expect. So before you do anything else, listen carefully. Because this story begins with a message. A simple notification. A notification that looked ordinary. A notification that seemed unimportant. A notification that could have been deleted in less than a second. And yet, everything changed because of it. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You grab your phone. Your eyes are barely open. You scroll through the usual notifications. Messages. Emails. Missed calls. Advertisements. Nothing special. Then suddenly, one notification stops you. You read it once. You read it twice. You read it 3 times. Because your brain refuses to believe what your eyes are seeing. A stranger has sent you money. A huge amount. Your heart starts racing. Your hands begin to shake. Questions explode inside your mind. Who sent it? Why did they send it? Was it a mistake? Is it real? What happens next? Most people think the greatest opportunities in life arrive with warning signs. They don't. Most opportunities arrive disguised as confusion. Most blessings arrive disguised as uncertainty. Most breakthroughs arrive disguised as ordinary moments. And that's exactly why so many people miss them. Think about it. How many times have you ignored something because it looked insignificant? How many times have you walked away from a possibility because it seemed too strange? How many times have you doubted yourself right before something incredible was about to happen? The answer might surprise you. Because every successful person has one story. One moment. One unexpected event. One decision. A decision that changed everything. Tonight, we're talking about that decision. We're talking about the moment when life places something valuable directly in front of you. And you have only 2 choices. Open the door. Or walk away forever. Now here's where this story becomes even more interesting. Because the money isn't the most important part. The money is only the signal. The money is only the evidence. The money is only the proof that something bigger is happening behind the scenes. Stay with me. Because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you see your future. Many years ago, a man sat alone in a small apartment. He was exhausted, frustrated, disappointed. Nothing in his life seemed to be working. Every plan had failed. Every goal felt distant. Every dream seemed impossible. Then one evening, a message arrived. He almost ignored it. He nearly deleted it. In fact, for several minutes he stared at it without opening it. Because he assumed it was meaningless. Fortunately, curiosity won. And that single choice started a chain reaction that transformed everything. Not overnight. Not magically. Not instantly, but undeniably. The message led to a conversation. The conversation led to an introduction. The introduction led to an opportunity. The opportunity led to a new direction. And that new direction eventually changed his entire future. Notice something important. The opportunity didn't arrive looking like success. It arrived looking like uncertainty. That is how life works. And that is why so many people miss their moment. They are waiting for certainty. But certainty rarely arrives first. Faith arrives first. Courage arrives first. Action arrives first. Results come later. Now imagine something. What if the notification isn't about money at all? What if it's about a hidden opportunity? What if it's about a relationship that changes your future? What if it's about an idea worth millions? What if it's about a skill that opens doors you've never imagined? What if the stranger isn't a person? What if the stranger is your future self? The version of you that already succeeded. The version of you that already overcame every obstacle. The version of you that already became stronger. Wiser. More confident. More successful. And that version of you is sending a message backward through time. A message that says, stop doubting yourself. Stop waiting. Stop assuming that nothing good can happen. Because something important is already moving toward you. Most people spend their lives expecting disappointment. So when opportunity arrives, they reject it. Most people expect failure. So when success knocks, they don't answer. Most people expect limitations. So when abundance appears, they become suspicious. Don't become one of those people. Because opportunities have an expiration date. Doors close. Moments disappear. Chances vanish. And sometimes, the greatest regret isn't making the wrong decision. It's making no decision at all. Imagine reaching the end of your life. Looking back. And realizing that everything you wanted was only one brave decision away. One conversation away. One opportunity away. One step away. How would that feel? Think carefully. Because this isn't really about money. It's about possibility. It's about recognizing value when it appears. It's about understanding that life often rewards people who are willing to pay attention. People who stay awake. People who stay ready. People who stay open. And right now, you are being challenged. Not by me. Not by anyone else. By life itself. Life is asking a question. Will you continue to think small? Or will you prepare for something bigger? Will you continue to doubt? Or will you believe that your next chapter can be different? Will you keep staring at closed doors? Or will you start looking for open ones? The answer matters more than you think. Because every transformation begins in the mind. Before success appears outside, it appears inside. Before abundance appears outside, it appears inside. Before change appears outside, it appears inside. Everything begins with belief. And belief begins with a decision. A decision made in moments exactly like this one. So if a stranger sent you money, what would you do? Would you ignore it? Would you doubt it? Would you investigate it? Would you explore it? Would you be curious? Remember that answer. Because your future may depend on how you respond when unexpected opportunities arrive. The next notification. The next conversation. The next meeting. The next idea. The next chance. The next open door. Any one of them could become the turning point you've been waiting for. And the most incredible part? You won't know which one it is until after it changes your life. That's how destiny works. That's how transformation works. That's how breakthroughs happen. Quietly. Unexpectedly. Without warning. So stay alert. Stay hopeful. Stay ready. Because somewhere, right now, a door is opening. A possibility is forming. An opportunity is approaching. And when it arrives, don't let fear convince you to walk away. Don't let doubt convince you to hesitate. Don't let uncertainty convince you to quit. Because the greatest opportunities in life rarely announce themselves. They simply appear. Waiting for someone brave enough to notice. Waiting for someone ready enough to act. Waiting for someone wise enough to understand their value. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. Tonight. Right now. At this very moment. The message has been delivered. The notification has appeared. The opportunity is knocking. The question is no longer whether it exists. The question is, will you answer? Will you answer? That question may sound simple. But hidden inside that question is a truth that most people never discover. Because opportunities do not test your intelligence first. They test your attention. They test your courage. They test your willingness to act before everything makes sense. And that is exactly where our story continues. Imagine for a moment that you decided to open the message. You decided not to ignore it. Not because you were certain. But because something inside you whispered. Take a closer look. At first, nothing extraordinary happens. In fact, everything appears normal. That's the strange thing about life-changing moments. They rarely feel life-changing when they begin. Most people imagine destiny arriving with fireworks. Reality is different. Destiny often arrives quietly. Almost invisibly. Like a seed being planted underground. No one notices. No one applauds. No one celebrates. But beneath the surface, something powerful has already started. And that's where many people make a mistake. They expect immediate proof. Immediate rewards. Immediate results. When those results don't appear, they give up. They walk away. They convince themselves that nothing is happening. Meanwhile, the people who succeed understand something important. Growth is invisible before it becomes visible. The roots appear before the tree. The foundation appears before the building. The preparation appears before the breakthrough. Remember that. Because it may be one of the most valuable lessons you'll ever hear. Now let's go deeper. What if the stranger who sent the money wasn't trying to give you wealth? What if they were trying to give you awareness? Because awareness creates opportunities. Awareness creates decisions. Awareness creates change. Think about all the things around you right now that you barely notice. The skills you already have. The knowledge you already possess. The experiences you've already survived. The strengths you've already developed. You may see them as ordinary. But someone else might see them as priceless. Someone else might see value where you see routine. Someone else might see potential where you see limitations. That's why so many successful people began their journey unexpectedly. Not because they suddenly became talented. Not because they suddenly became lucky. But because they finally recognized the value that was already there. And perhaps that's what this mysterious message is really about. Perhaps it is asking you a difficult question. What if you are richer than you think? Not financially. Not yet. But richer in potential. Richer in possibilities. Richer in opportunities. Richer in future outcomes. Imagine discovering that your greatest advantage has been sitting beside you for years. Imagine realizing that the thing you've been searching for is something you already possess. How would that change the way you think? How would that change the way you act? Because here's the reality. Most people spend their lives searching for treasure. Few people realize they are standing on top of it. The reason is simple. Treasure rarely looks like treasure at first. It often looks like effort, discipline, learning, patience, consistency. The very things most people avoid. And yet, those are the things that create extraordinary results. That is why the notification matters. Not because of the money. Because of the message behind the money. The reminder. The wake-up call. The realization. The understanding that something valuable may already be trying to reach you. But you must be willing to notice it. Now picture this. Two people receive the exact same opportunity. One ignores it. The other investigates it. 5 years later. Their lives look completely different. Not because one person was smarter. Not because one person was luckier. The moments when continuing felt difficult. Those moments created the outcome. Those moments created the victory. Those moments created the future. So as this story continues, ask yourself something. If a stranger truly sent you a fortune, would the money be the greatest gift? Or would the greatest gift be the realization that your life can change faster than you imagine? Because once you understand that truth, everything becomes different. The way you think. The way you act. The way you see yourself. The way you see the future. And when those things change, the results eventually follow. So stay with me. Because the message is becoming clearer. The mystery is becoming deeper. And what happens next may be the most important part of all. And what happens next may be the most important part of all. Because this is where most people expect the story to end. A stranger sends money. A mystery is solved. Everyone is happy. The end. But real transformations don't work that way. The real story begins after the message arrives. The real story begins after the excitement fades. The real story begins when you are left alone with a decision. And that decision determines everything. Imagine sitting quietly after receiving that unexpected notification. The room is silent. Your phone screen glows in front of you. Questions race through your mind. Possibilities appear. Doubts appear. Fears appear. Hope appears. Everything seems to be competing for your attention. And then something interesting happens. You begin having a conversation. Not with another person. With yourself. The most important conversation you will ever have. Because the voice inside your mind is powerful. Powerful enough to build your future. Powerful enough to destroy it. Powerful enough to convince you that anything is possible. Or convince you that nothing is. That voice begins asking questions. What if this works? What if it doesn't? What if this changes everything? What if I fail? What if I succeed? What if I'm ready? What if I'm not? Notice something. The future is often determined by which questions you choose to focus on. Most people focus on fear-based questions. What if something goes wrong? What if I lose? What if I'm disappointed? What if people judge me? As a result, fear becomes their guide. And fear is a terrible guide. Because fear only shows you obstacles. It never shows you opportunities. It only shows you danger. It never shows you possibility. It only shows you reasons to stop. It never shows you reasons to continue. The people who create extraordinary lives ask different questions. They ask, what if this is exactly what I've been waiting for? What if this challenge makes me stronger? What if this opportunity leads somewhere incredible? What if my best days are still ahead? What if I'm capable of more than I realize? Those questions create a completely different future. Because the mind moves toward whatever it focuses on. Focus on fear. And you'll find reasons to hesitate. Focus on possibility. And you'll find reasons to act. This brings us to something very few people understand. The stranger in this story may not be outside of you. The stranger may be the person you are becoming. Think about that. 5 years from now. The version of you who has grown. The version of you who has learned. The version of you who has achieved things you currently dream about. That future version of you would seem almost like a stranger. Different habits. Different confidence. Different knowledge. Different results. Yet it is still you. And what if that future version could send you a message today? What would it say? Would it talk about money? Probably not. Would it talk about fame? Probably not. It would likely talk about something much more important. It would say, stop underestimating yourself. Stop waiting for permission. Stop treating your dreams like they are impossible. Because they are not. The future version of you already knows something that the present version has not fully understood. Your limits are not where you think they are. Most limits are illusions. Invisible walls created by doubt. Invisible walls created by fear. Invisible walls created by old stories. Stories that say, "You're not good enough. You're too late. You're too inexperienced. You're too ordinary." Those stories have stolen more dreams than failure ever has. Because many people never even begin. They quit before the race starts. They surrender before the battle begins. They abandon the journey before taking the first step. Not because they lack ability. Because they lack belief. And belief is powerful. Belief changes behavior. Behavior changes actions. Actions change results. Results change lives. Everything starts there. Now imagine that the money from the stranger came with a note. A handwritten note. Simple. Direct. Impossible to forget. The note says, "This isn't a reward. It's a reminder." A reminder of what? A reminder that opportunities exist. A reminder that life can change unexpectedly. A reminder that abundance often appears where people least expect it. A reminder that the future is not fixed. Most people live as if tomorrow will look exactly like today. But history proves otherwise. Lives change. Fortunes change. Circumstances change. Everything changes. The only question is whether you are ready when change arrives. Because change never asks for permission. It simply shows up. Sometimes quietly. Sometimes dramatically. Sometimes disguised as a challenge. Sometimes disguised as an opportunity. But it always arrives. And when it does, your preparation matters. Your mindset matters. Your attitude matters. Your willingness to move forward matters. More than anything else. Now let me tell you something fascinating. There are people walking around today who almost missed the greatest opportunity of their lives. They almost said no. They almost gave up. They almost ignored the sign. They almost turned around. Imagine how different their lives would be if they had listened to fear instead of curiosity. Imagine how different history would be if every successful person had chosen comfort over growth. The world would look completely different. And so would your future. Because every meaningful achievement begins with uncertainty. Every single one. No exceptions. No guarantees. No perfect timing. Just a decision. A choice to continue despite not knowing exactly how everything will unfold. That is courage. And courage changes lives. Right now, someone somewhere is standing at a crossroads. One path leads toward comfort. The other path leads toward growth. The comfortable path feels safe. Predictable. Familiar. The growth path feels uncertain. Difficult. Unknown. Most people choose comfort. A few choose growth. Years later, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. The people who chose growth become stronger. Wiser. More capable. More fulfilled. Not because the path was easy. Because they walked it anyway. And perhaps that's the true meaning behind the stranger's gift. Not wealth. Not luck. Not magic. A challenge. A challenge to stop thinking small. A challenge to stop doubting your potential. A challenge to stop living beneath your possibilities. Because there is something extraordinary about human beings. When they finally believe in themselves. When they finally commit to growth. When they finally stop allowing fear to control every decision. Amazing things begin to happen. Doors open. Ideas appear. Connections form. Momentum builds. And what once seemed impossible slowly becomes reality. At first the progress is invisible. Then it becomes noticeable. Then it becomes undeniable. Then people call you lucky. But you know the truth. You remember the work. You remember the faith. You remember the persistence. You remember the days when nobody saw what you were building. Those days mattered. Every one of them. And now, as the mystery continues to unfold, a final message appears on the screen. No sender name. No explanation. No clues. Just one sentence. A sentence so powerful that it stops you completely. It reads: "The greatest value you will ever receive is not what comes to you, but what awakens within you." And suddenly, everything starts making sense. The stranger. The message. The money. The mystery. It was never only about receiving. It was about becoming. And what you become next may change the rest of your life forever.